I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you, see you, see you.
Sup guys, Ben Wheeler the Mercenary King here with another budget deck and budget sleeves. I got too big sleeves. I'm ashamed of this. I did say I was Ben Wheeler the Mercenary King, right? I'm going to go with yes. So basically the idea behind a good budget deck is the fact that everything should either be easily found or cheaply gotten. This assumes that you can get at least two trial decks of the new ones, because almost everything's from the trial decks or from commons and rares. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but point is, good budget deck, cheap, easy to find material. And so I made one for Link Joker. It's not really dependent on any archetype, but it is dependent on getting locks off. Locks off. By locking the field, and guess what? It does do that pretty well. Basically, starter, Schwarzschild, Dragon, Ride Chain. This guy is, if the grade 1 rides it, search top 7 for a grade 2. Or grade 3. And that's good for various reasons. Namely, it makes this deck consistent, because I'm running a 1 more grade 1 than I usually do, as well as the fact that it pulls back as a booster if you don't hit it, and it's a 4K, and it can be used for various abilities for other parts of the deck. Yeah. Basically, he's useful even when you don't ride him, provided you get a binary star dragon. And even then, he's also useful for the interceptors, 15K interceptors. He's useful all around. Good card. I should run him by himself. For triggers, simple, run 8 crit, 4 draw, and 4 heal. I like this art. I like this art. And my cool arts for the new non-star evaders are in my decks. Okay, so why don't I run a traditional build in most of my budget decks? Because it's simple. I find that actually 9, 3, 4, 9 crit, 4, 3 draw, 4 heal. It's actually one of the best Link Joker combinations. Same with Mega Colony. Control decks in general, because usually control decks give you some passive means of gaining hand. So you don't need as many draw, but you still need a little draw because you can't guarantee abilities until later in the game, so you need early game. Hence, less draw, more crit. Also, the fact that this deck doesn't really run anything that works with stands means that you run the traditional crits. The basic, if you ever have trouble with a deck, don't know what sort of ratio to run, it should be 4, 4, 8. So it's 4 heal, 4 draw, 8 crit. Because if you don't know greater abilities or how your deck will work together with, say, stands or 12 draw, which would be stupid, or anything else, you might, make a mistake there or make something weaker than it actually is. This gives it presence, gives the Vanguard early game, and sort of keeps it around long enough for the defensive to go off. This is the most defensive deck you can make with Link Joker, in my opinion, because of the ease of lock with the grade 3s, as well as the defensive bonuses that can be gotten. I earned 4 of these. It's a grade 1 for Schwarzschild Dragon. When it's ridden by when it's not ridden by Gravity Hole Dragon, you can search the top 7, search for Gravity Dragon, Gravity Collapse Dragon, ride it, and shuffle deck. It's pretty good if you want a thin deck, but not very good if you want to preserve hand. Use an 8K, which is early defense. You drop a 10K and you prevent damage from hitting you, because most of the time it'll hit 12, but you can get it up to 18, so it's defensive when it rides this guy. Do try to get, you always want to ride him just because you can get a +1 for either the grade 1 or grade 3. I'm sorry, grade 2 or grade 3. Because it's like, this is a good way to teach a new card advantage and how it works, because you see, riding is a -1 every turn, that attacking is supposed to mitigate, as well as draws and other things, draw for turn. So you -1 yourself to gain more abilities, but he allows it to turn it into a break even, and every time you do that you have a huge advantage, especially if you get the grade 2 for reasons I'll discuss earlier. For Turn Down Dragon, what does Turn Down Dragon do? If you have 2 or more locked units on the opponent's side of things, he gets a +10k shield when he's guarded with. He's fun with a capital F. Basically, both your Vanguards lock shit. Yeah, so it works out pretty well. At least 2 to 3 each time. So you can play this down mid to late game so that you can keep your defensive high. Remember, this is a -1 for a 15k shield, which will block a 21k column for any of your units. And that's really good because it's more than a 10k, so you can keep the grade 0s in hand for things that attack, that deny the grade 1s. Defensive. This deck does suffer from boosters because 4 boosters are entirely caught up in, 8 grade 1s are caught up in defense, so I've got 6 boosters. Volt Line Dragon is just to prolong the locks so that you can have more card advantage. It's a tech-in, and if you have a better idea, feel free to try it out. He's probably one of the harder things to get because everyone needs Volt Line in their Link Joker deck. However, he's not useful in all Link Joker decks. He's just a very useful card in general, like Dorant was, or Darkheart Trumpeter is, that sort of thing. The new one. Lady Hippo Virtual Reality. My Palladium is currently being caught up in the fact that it's a Starvader in a Chaos Breaker deck. And there it will remain. But this is nice. King Guard, rear guards, King Guard, front guards, vanguards even. You know, it's useful for discardation of 1. That's also why I keep the draws in there. Discarding a draw for a perfect shield is fantastic. 4 of the Gravity Collapse Dragon, 10k defense if it's ridden on the grade 1, and when it rides the grade 1 with Micro Hulk, Reiko Kid, and the Soul, you get to lock one of your opponent's rear guards. Early lock is great. It really works for this deck and other things. Honestly, it makes this deck worthwhile early game. But quite frankly, I maybe want to ride Mobius Breath Dragon just for kicks. 4 of the 15k interceptors in the new trial deck. Lightspeed Cheetah. Basically, he goes in front of it. You lock something, like say, Micro Hulk Draco Kid if you didn't ride him. Ow. And then he becomes a 15k interceptor. You can do it multiple times a turn. So what you can do is you can intercept for 30k, which will put you at 41k, which will be a 3 pass for unboosted strides. Now, why are the strides unboosted? Well, that's because you lock the rear guard. Now, be careful, because if they do get triggers, they'll put them all in the Vanguard, but you have to hope they don't have 3 triggers in a row. Maybe you want to put something else down to make it a 4 pass and thus not work. Finally, we have 3 Osmium. Again, a tech thing, much like Volt Line was, but basically he helps prolong locks. You can do the damage on Flipper for Deleter, but quite frankly, I found this to be much more useful. He's a workhorse card, but at the same time, he's not as important as Lightspeed Cheetah, but more important than Gravity Collapse Dragon. So you got to keep that up. Making him a Volt Line column is high priority, and they will attack it because it's, you know, if they get free locks for multiple turns, That's bad for them because that shuts down both a booster and a column. Because let's say that that they don't have a Vanguard, which affects your hand. Like let's say they're running like Kagero or Narukami or something like that, and their Vanguard is can't. You got perfect shields, so you actually cripple both their columns. One column's dead in the water, the other column doesn't have a booster. So let's say they have a 9K trigger, 19K, 10K shield. Let's say it's a 12K attacker, trigger, 22K. Well, guess what? You have Turndown Dragon for that. Or Lightspeed Cheetah. You really got, which you can just toss down. You can perfect shield the Vanguard all you want. It's pretty great. Grade 3s. 4 Schwarzschild Dragon. 1 is SP. Yeah. And it's the one on top. Anyway, Limit Break 4, Counterblast 3, and discard a copy of the card. A little bit overcosted, but it's Lock 3 plus 10K and a crit until end of turn. I keep forgetting he gets plus 10K and a crit. But that's fantastic. Obviously, you use it once per game, but at the same time, during that turn and the turn after, you preserve hand to be able to, pull up Binary Star, Stride, that sort of thing. You want to hit it when the time's right and when your opponent has a full field. Do not do it early, it'll mess it up. And also, this has Counterblast 1. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, look at the top 5 for a Schwarzschild. Put it into your hand, shuffle deck. He basically Counterblast 1, Counterblast 4 for his ability, plus 10K and a crit and a triangle lock for free. And he's an 11K with the grade 2 in the soul. This is actually probably the hardest card that you might be able to find. But let's say you bought 2 trial decks. Replace them with Harmonix Messiah. Yeah, that's really all I can say about it. Counterblast 2, Soul Blast 2. Choose a rearguard from among opponent's front row and back row and lock them. You don't want to do a column. You want to do like a front row and a booster of some kind. Vanguard booster is always nice, especially if they have a lot of strides that you don't have perfects for. Also, a rearguard is nice, especially if they don't have anything that's really punching. So you can mess up their field. Remember, this is strategy. Defense. Always defense. You will outlast your opponent. Binder Star also has choose a Link Joker rearguard and put it into the soul. When it attacks, you may pay the cost if you do plus 5K. I don't really use that ability much, but it's an ability with like Micro Hold Draco Kid that can put stuff into the soul, so you have more ability to use his limit break, that sort of thing. Honestly, he's a good card, and I really have a hard time playing him. Not in like tournament settings, but rather because there's a lot of other interesting things that you can do, that this becomes generic. Really, you have to make the rearguards work for him more. So maybe to make a deck with him that shines, you want to find a more rearguard centric focus. Include some Sunset Dustblades and a few other things like that, just according to your will. Turndown Dragon is always a good choice. Now, strides aren't complete right now, but this will actually do. You want 4 Madus. As if you're a new player and you don't really have the money to get the better cards, but you do have a bunch of 10K base things, it's good to spend money on strides that'll do work for you, like Madu. What does Madu do? When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, if you have a Vanguard with original power 10K or less, works for Legions, as well as, grade 3s like Schwarzschild. Choose a grade 3 from your drops and put it into your hand. He's good. It's actually the only $7 double rare, or at least it was at the time of my making of this video. So what do? You stride over a Schwarzschild. You discard a Binary Star, and let's say you have a Schwarzschild in there. You pull it into your hand. It's good. So now you have the cost to pay next turn for his ability. Besides that, triplet drive. Always good. Always good. It is a Cray Elemental, so you can use it in everything. Here we have Genesis Dragon, Judgment Messiah. Again, this is the 2-deck trial deck thing. Ideally, this deck should have Big Crunch Dragon, but Big Crunch Dragon's expensive and not out yet, so not really worth it. When this unit hits, lock 1 in the back row, choose up to 1 locked card and unlock it. Now, in this case, it depends whether you have perfect shields or not. If you have perfect shields for your Vanguard and you can use them, like say you're not facing Metalborgs, then you want to F up one of their columns. However, if you're facing like Metalborgs or something else that affects the card in your hand, actually you want to block the Vanguard booster to try to keep it as close to 26 as possible. And you don't have to unlock anything. You can unlock up to 1, so just don't do it. You can unlock 0. Perfectly legitimate. Overall, this is a fun deck. It does work. It does have its quirks, but I think it's complete otherwise, and I think it's very enjoyable. Give this to a noob at your local card shop, and I'm sure you'll see something very interesting, and he'll learn how to defend. Let me tell you. Alright, well, have a wonderful rest of your night, guys. This has been Wheeler the Mercenary King here with a Schwarzschild budget deck, signing off.